And I was seated at the table, at my very first meeting. One of my new peers, he looks over to me. So he says, Jamie, I'll take my coffee black with 2 sugars. And I said, oh, thank you. So will I. So, right. You're not going to call me out like this is my very first meeting. Like, right. I'm not supposed to be at this table. Right. I'm here to stay. Absolutely. Get your own coffee and get mine while you're at it. Right. That was my mindset during that time.
All right. So, ladies, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We'll just answer and have a natural conversation. Okay. Each person has a different definition of womanhood and what it means to be a woman. What is your definition?
I think the definition of womanhood that I once had has kind of changed. I think when I was younger, it was you just want to grow up. And your mother was your vision of what womanhood kind of should be, or for me at that time, what it was. Like, that's my mommy. Mm-hmm. And I think as I've gotten older, it continues to evolve. I think what I saw as womanhood in my 40s is very different than what I view it as in my 50s. So I think to add to what you were saying, Francesca, I think it's really becomes about comfort and being confident in the skin that you're in. I think it's about confronting maybe fears, because I can't say they're not things that I'm still afraid of. But I think it's really being comfortable in the skin that you're in, really that self-love that has become a cliche term, but it really is about loving you.
Sometimes when we start our careers, right, we go to college, then we have a family, and that's the first level of your career path, right? While you have a family, now you have to juggle between family, right? And also your career path, how much you want to do, where you want to go in the future. And especially when you have teenagers at home, that's a very difficult task. And so to me, being womanhood encompasses all these things: professionalism, family, right? Being a mom, being a counselor to your kids, and sometimes even to your mom, to your family, to your sisters. Is for me to be complete, I have to be able to combine all these things together and try to be as successful as I possibly can in each one of them. Yeah.
I was going to say, to me, womanhood is literally everything. Like a lot of what you mentioned, and I'm not a mom, not yet. I don't know if I will be, haven't decided. But for me, I think womanhood is like having a sense of compassion and a sense of nurturing in everything that you do, and showing up with grace in everything that you do, because a lot of times as women, we have to be everything for everyone.
Right. Correct. All the things all the time.
All the things all the time. And I feel like in a lot of ways, we don't get the same level of grace in certain situations as maybe men do.
Right.
Correct.
And we're expected to present a certain way and act a certain way, and we have to look good while we do it, and we have to have a certain attitude while we do it. And so I think womanhood is like it's really a sense of being, and it's a sense of always being aware of how you show up, and really leading with like compassion and grace and nurturing, and not even necessarily just in a mothering sense, but like you said, you have to end up being a counselor, and you have to do all these things, and it's for quite literally everyone in your life. Right. And as I'm getting older, I'm seeing it more with like, I am turning into that with my mom. So it's less my mom doing it for me and more me doing it for her. My sister and I showing up for each other. And so womanhood is everything. It's all the things.
And for me, womanhood, it's being authentic to what you feel on the inside. To me, womanhood is internal. Because once you recognize what's inside of you, that's what will come out of you. And that's what defines who you are as a woman.
I love that, Jamie.
Yes, I do. I do too. I agree. I was sitting here thinking, for me, womanhood is strength. It's self-awareness. It's about embodying your true self of who you are and then exuding that to the world, right? And so I 100% agree with that. I'm a mom, I'm a professional, I'm a wife. I am all those things to everyone. but I think it's more important about what it is for me and what it means to me, and that being displayed to the world.
For me, it's a question like that can be a little hard because I'm a trans person, and like a lot of the times they don't fit into the normal mold as like a woman or femininity. But I think a lot of it has to do with like being able to define yourself and like having autonomy and you determining who you are and where you want to go and what you want to do. I think.
Can I ask like a little bit of a deeper question? Because something that you said with you don't feel like you, or maybe you don't, maybe it's not you, but maybe it's the stereotype. What does that look like for you though? Based on what others may think. For you, to me, I think that it's amazing that you're an amazing person just as you are. But how do you deal with the obstacles of that, I guess, of that stereotype?
I mean, it depends if when you're trans, it depends of how much you like want to cater to people's expectations. Because like I don't have like a higher pitch voice.
Right.
I didn't really do any voice training or anything like that. It would be cool, but like it's a lot of effort, and I don't know if I have the mental capacity to do that. A lot of the time you have to like constantly police yourself, and it just, that's like honestly one of the biggest things that like people expect me to have. It's like a higher pitched voice, and a lot of the time like if in a phone call, they're just gonna assume I'm a guy.
Right.
So that's one of the things that like people expect me to have that I don't. I don't know. It's just the vibe that some people gives you. Like, I don't know. They think you feel off and you don't really belong here. And like, it was really cool. Like the first time where like I got a group of friends and like, it was clear that they definitely like considered me as one of the girls.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It felt very different. Like I felt included instead of being like just kind of there in the limbo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like being included in like typically girl activities. And just like naturally, it feels different. And like for example, now I just had a bachelorette party. It wasn't a like it wasn't my friend is getting married, and it wasn't like anything extra or nothing, but
Right.
Yeah, party is a
But,
party.
but to be there,
Yeah, to be there,
absolutely,
Yeah.
and to be included is amazing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm also one of the bridesmaids, and like
Right. Yeah.
that makes me feel really insecure, but at the same time, and like that brings the question too, like sometimes it kind of can give like an imposter syndrome.
Right. And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We are. We're going to talk about
Well,
that.
I will say that one thing to what you're saying. It's not, oh, that takes a lot of effort. Girl, it's just a lot of effort.
Yeah,
A woman. Literally.
I feel you.
Yes.
Like, period.
Yes.
Straight. Like,
As you reflect on your definitions of womanhood, are there any specific experiences that you feel are unique to the experience of womanhood?
Growing up, I grew up with all sisters. We never had a brother. So when my male cousins would come around, and, you know, we would get a little rambunctious or anything, you know, the boys would be pulled aside, sit down and act like a man. We as the girls, we were always told, sit down and act like a lady. See, no one ever told us, sit down and act like a woman. I mean, has anyone ever heard that growing up? We were never told that. You know, as females, we were told to act like a lady. So then you had to come to terms that, well, what is a woman? Because we weren't told to become a woman. The boys were prepared to become a man, but we were not prepared to become a woman. But then when we heard about the bodily function that would take place one day, and then all of a sudden, oh, welcome to womanhood. Right. Okay, I'm not ready for this.
Right.
What does this mean?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think as females, sometimes we have to be very mindful as we nurture, you know, young girls coming up, that you are transitioning into womanhood, which means that you're going to have to define who you are, what you want to do, how you want to do it, you know, to prepare them. Because being a lady is it's what people can see as far as your mannerism. But being a woman is something that's going to manifest out of you. And we have to prepare them for that.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
I will say for me, and again, like you said, there's no specific experience. I feel like it's a moment where, for me, it's like I took off my blindfold. Like I was a daddy's girl, raised by an independent, very strong, independent woman, and he passed at an early age for me. And it was a moment for me where it was like I took off of my blindfold and I realized no one's coming to save you. Like you got to do for you and go get whatever it is that you're trying to do. And it was literally like a realization, like, girl, you better get your life, like wake up, smell the coffee, go out and get whatever it is, because no one's coming to save you. You're saving you, period. And for me, that was the moment where it was like, okay, this is it. Like, it was like I don't want to be cliche, it's like a rebirth, but for sure is a moment where I feel like everyone has that moment where you realize, I got to go do me and forget about people, forget about, do you and go after what you want.
Bringing back to like the thing that I said about like the whole bachelorette party and like having like a group of women that considers you one of them, the solidarity. Yeah. Honestly, it's, even though it's like be independent, do what you want and be powerful as, yourself. The solidarity like between women is just different. Yeah. It definitely is different. As someone that like, grew up as a guy, there's a lot of like also stereotypes about like girls being like feuds and fighting over things, but it doesn't really end up like that all the time. It really, there is a different sense of like community and like solidarity and like actually like trying to help each other compared to like the way like men react to some things. And because of like just the very constant way that like society oppresses women and like in a very basically it's all around you. So I feel like there's like a more shared sense of like, and there's not shared sense of like oppression, but like you understand that like people don't want you to succeed, right? They don't want you to, right? And just being able to share the experience and empower yourself with that, I feel like it's a very like thing of womanhood. It's not, men don't go through that stuff, right?
Yeah, I like that a lot too. I also think like one of the things that has always been a unique experience for me and that I talk to a lot of people about is the concept of sisterhood. And I think that's really part of the woman experience and the way that we like, I think back to being little and us giggling and like sleepovers and painting each other's nails and like gossiping. And then as we've transitioned into adulthood, we do that over happy hour. But, we just have this way of like being able to bond and like express ourselves with other women where we're less concerned with how another woman is perceived. Like we can be open and honest and have these conversations. And I think that a lot of the men I'm close to, they don't have that same experience when it comes to other men. They don't get to just pour out their feelings or be like, this is what pissed me off today, or this is the person that I like and this is how that's going. Or, we have this really unique experience of being able to bond with each other and being able to be honest with each other and go through hard times with each other. And it's something that I appreciate so much. So I grew up mostly with just my sister and my mom. So it was women in the household. Right. And we had the freedom to express our opinions and our thoughts and be able to talk to our mom about a lot of things. And there's definitely more I wish that we would have learned, especially once you talk about becoming a woman. And I was 10 years old when I started my menstrual cycle. Being told at 10 you're a woman, girl, no, I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm a kid. I still have recess. Like, what are you talking about? And so there's a lot of things that I do feel like becoming a woman maybe we missed the opportunity on speaking about, but the concept of sisterhood and being able to talk with one another and bond with one another. And my sister and I, we have 6.5 years between us, but that is my best friend. And like, especially as I was becoming a teenager and I was going through a lot of changes, my sister was really who I leaned on to be able to like talk to about those things. But the type of relationship I have with my sister, I also have a lot of my friendships with other women.
Right.
So that concept of sisterhood wasn't just through blood. It was through being a woman and being a girl. It's through it starts at girlhood and then turns into womanhood. So yeah.
So imposter syndrome is the persistent feeling of self-doubt that makes people question whether they are qualified or adequate for their role. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome in your personal or professional life? And if so, how did you navigate
it? Look here. Working in corporate, go back. Being a woman of color.
There you go.
Latin woman of color in corporate will make you, question yourself infinitely, constantly. It's just a thing that we unfortunately go through, and only we go through it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yes, 1,000 times yes. I've lived it. I've been in it. I've questioned myself. You know, I can have someone telling me, "You're great. But for whatever reason, being, in corporate, and I don't know the political right way to say this, the other side of corporate, they don't see you.
Well, most definitely in my professional life, I probably am the most seasoned in the room. And so, my career began in the 80s. 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So that's the time of the glass ceiling. It was very prominent during that time.
Yes.
I remember my first promotion, and I was seated at the table, at my very first meeting. And then one of my new peers, he looks over to me. So he says, "Jamie, I'll take my coffee black with 2 sugars." And I said, "Oh, thank you. So will I."
That's good. That's actually good.
So, you're not going to call me out like this is my very first meeting. Like, I'm not supposed to be at this table.
Right.
I'm here to stay.
Absolutely.
Get your own coffee
Right.
and get mine while you're at it.
Right.
That was my mindset during that time.
They know I'm doing this job. If they wanted to offer me the job, they would have done that already, right? So, but it was very hard in New York City to become a professional in a finance leadership role.
Right.
And I have to say that, sometimes you second guess yourself. Right. Am I appropriate? Am I doing the right thing?
So, what advice do you have for women who are just starting their careers? Are there specific things they should look out for?
I think one of the things I wish I could have told the old me is to not walk in fear. Don't be afraid and don't doubt yourself. Because sometimes, success or that rebirth or that strength is on the other side of fear, is on the other side of that. So I think the advice I give is to not be afraid. Don't be afraid of no. And then don't take no.
Absolutely.
And advocate for yourself.
Yes.
1,000%.
Yes.
And I think that's part of that don't taking no, because I think so often, because I think, again, the society, oh no, when women should be meek, that whole 60, so stay in your place, that's it.
Yeah.
But, to your point, that you definitely advocate for yourself. And I would definitely say I definitely do that a lot better for myself now, and not just in the workplace, just everywhere,
In
from your
general.
health care to,
Yeah.
just everything in general. I always tell, my best, like with my husband, like I always tell him I don't speak car. So there are different things, but you know what? Guess what? Before you were in my life, my daddy was like, you need to learn to speak car, because I always felt someone could just tell me anything. And I'd be like, okay. But you've got to be able to advocate for yourself across the board, because not everyone is kind.
Yeah, I mean, especially in healthcare, it's a constant struggle of making yourself heard. And it's so common to just assume women are like, doctors just say, you don't actually have any problems. You have anxiety. It's not an actual problem. Take some of the antidepressants or something. And actually believing that there's something wrong, it's right. And if you don't advocate for yourself and actually fight, like, no, there's something
wrong, right?
Because you have the gut feeling and there's something wrong, and they just don't listen.
Yeah.
So you gotta stand up for yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, number one, if you're just starting, be true to what your dreams are, your goals are, and be on the watch out for haters. They're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Yes.
The dream killers will be there. If your desire is to start your own company, go for it. And just remember, everyone's not meant to go with you.
Yes.
Some journeys are just meant to be solo.
You have to pick who's going to be in your journey.
Absolutely.
Not everybody's worthy of the ride either.
That's
right.
That is so
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah.
That is true.
I think my biggest thing would be, don't feel like you have to water yourself down to be in spaces. Like, you can be authentic and you can be you. And the spaces that you're in, the spaces that you're supposed to be in, you won't have to pull back and water yourself down. And I'd gone on like a little rant about this on my social media a few weeks ago, because I've always been very passionate about sexual health and sexual health care. And in college, there were people who were like, girl, if you keep talking about all this like stuff related to sex, you are never going to find a job. I went and found jobs in the sexual health field. And I've like worked on making a career out of doing marketing and communications within the sexual health field, because it's what I care about. And I didn't feel like I needed to pull back or be less myself or stop talking about the things I cared about to fit into certain spaces. I found spaces that accepted me for who I was. And so I think that, and obviously still being so young in my career, I think one of the biggest things that I did for myself was staying true to who I am and not watering down those aspects of myself to try and fit where other people felt I should be.
I will say also, for new starting people in any field, you have to find a mentor. Find someone that's going to act, right?
Yes.
And I always keep that in mind, because I had good mentors in my career. And not necessarily female. It was actually my mentor was a male. He was so good to me, and he taught me everything he knew. And then I took that and ran with it, right? So I believe in doing that to other new people in the finance field, even some that are, not at the level that I am, as an accountant, a staff accountant. And I always tell them this: it might seem that you're overworked sometimes. It might seem that, people are giving you more than you actually feel that you should do. But guess what? That is something that you are going to learn. No one's going to take that from you.
Right.
It's a marketable skill that you want to acquire. And you are going to be able to go to the next level just because you took the time. It might seem, and I apply that to myself as a finance person. I learned everything I could, right? Even if it was not asked from me, right? And then you become marketable. You can go out there and say, well, I did this and I did that, and I know how to do this and I know how to do that. So if I have to advise anyone that's starting a new career, is find a good mentor. Find someone that can actually allow you to learn and grow, right? So I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's a really good
one.
Right. Mine would be find your passion. Really work in your passion, because if you're doing what you love, it doesn't feel like work. And I really believe in that. And so for me, it's about it's not about money either, because my dad probably gave me the best advice when I started. Don't focus on the money, because the money will come. If you're doing what you love, the money will come. And so for me, I think it's really working in your passion, doing what you love.
All right.
I what you want. Yeah. At 26Health, we believe in breaking down barriers to healthcare. What are some barriers in healthcare that women may experience?
Being listened to. I think that finding providers who are like willing to take you seriously and not just dismiss what you're coming to them with. And that's something that I feel like it can cause a lot of like white coat syndrome too, where you get so nervous going to the doctor because it's like, you're almost gaslighting yourself. Am I actually experiencing this pain? Are they going to believe me when I tell them I'm experiencing this pain? What are they going to do about it? And then for me, I also have the added addition that like I am a plus size woman, right? You can go in and be like, oh, my toe hurts. And they're like, well, have you lost weight about it? Like, what?
Oh, man.
Like, what are you doing about that? And so it's a lot of times it can be so intimidating, and it becomes a barrier where you don't know if you're going to be taken seriously or not when you go to the doctor. You don't know if they're actually going to believe you when you say that you're an 8 out of 10 on the pain scale, or are they just being dramatic? And I think that like that barrier of being able to have providers who like actually take the time to listen to you and take the time to care for you and want to get to the bottom of whatever you have going on without just dismissing it is a huge barrier.
Right.
I agree. And if I could be very transparent, I think because healthcare has evolved tremendously. But in the 90s, healthcare for women was deplorable. You know, a male provider would not really listen to you, and there were very few female, like gynecologists or obstetricians that you could seek out during that time. But as a person who was having challenges with conceiving, and I had gone from one doctor to the other, and I ended up being a person who I had 8 miscarriages. I had a ninth birth that resulted in a premature child who passed away after 4 months. And then I finally came across a provider who would listen to me. And once tests were ran and different things took place, I was able to bring in my daughter, who's now 31 years old. She was my 10th child. But because I think so early on, I was not listened to with the symptoms that I was having and what possible causes it could be. But I'm so glad that things are different now, and that's why I'm very careful when my daughter talks about going to see a provider. I say, if you ever feel you're being ignored, walk out. Then keep on until you find someone who will listen to you.
100%.
What do you think is different from then to now? Like, what is there like a specific thing that you can point out that you feel like is different?
I think during that time, women were just considered to be emotional. If you just relax for a minute, you'll conceive. That type of thing. That's not really what
how this works.
There's something medically
there's
wrong.
something, and I think because you were felt to think, you were felt to feel as if, well, maybe it's in my mind. Maybe it is something not, it's really not anything. I'm just making it something. But you have to stick with what you feel inside. As a woman,
Yes.
I know something is not right.
You have to stand up for yourself.
Yes,
and
you have
especially like in the medical world. You have to be able to be like, yes, you went to school and you're a doctor.
Yes.
But I've been living in this body for a long time and I know something's not right.
Yes, absolutely.
March is celebrated as International Women's Month. How do you think we can affirm one another this month and continue the affirmations throughout the year?
I'll say clapping for each other more.
Yeah.
Supporting each other more. It's not always the Mean Girls Club and she this or no, clap for each other. We're all going through
Life is life.
Right. Life is lifing, and times have changed and are continuing to change. Stand up for each other, clap for each other, be someone's safe space where, you know, they can let their hair down and actually voice what they're truly feeling. And I say pay attention to each other. And I mean that to say we don't all speak by talking.
Right.
So pay attention. Someone might be telling you something and just aren't actually expressing it verbally. And just give someone that support. Life is life, and you don't know what they're going through, what anyone is going through. Be kind.
Be kind.
Times have changed. Like, I can't stress that enough. You know, times have changed. Of like, there is no, you know, how things used to be.
Right.
Times have changed. Give someone that support that they might not be getting at home or have nowhere else to go. Yes, it's work. And whatnot, and even outside of work. But yes, it's work. Let's within our space. But you know, be that safe space for someone to feel comfortable enough to come in and say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day, X, Y, and Z."
For me, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about sisterhood. I think the way that we empower each other this month and always is pouring into one another, kind of like what Jamie said. And I even think conversations like this are really important because, you know, we work together, so we all have like passing conversations, but I feel like today we've all gotten to really like learn more about each other and dive into each other, and again pour into that concept of sisterhood and understanding each other, because at the end of the day, we're all women who see each other
every day,
40 plus hours a week.
Right.
And so being able to have those relationships with each other and understand each other and be able to uplift each other when we're down, or laugh with each other when things are great, cry with each other when things are bad. And, you know, I'll also give a lot of flowers to Latrice, because Latrice really is incredible as a CEO, but like, and I've told you many times in other conversations that you've been one of the most like inspirational women I've ever met. And like,
Thank you.
being able to have like a friendship with you and work with you, I feel like I learned so much all the time, and I'm very appreciative of it. And I think that all of you are phenomenal examples of women, and especially being, again, in my 20s still, it's so nice to have so many different women that I work with that are in really great leadership roles and that are doing the damn thing. And so it's very inspiring, because it's like, I'm on the right path and I'm around the right people and I'm in the right spaces, and it's very affirming. So
Thank you for that, Sarah. I didn't expect that. I'm so bad with compliments. I'm trying to get better. But I will say that one of the things that I absolutely love about working here is the people. You know, outside of the mission and the community service and all of those things that I am and that make Latrice, the people are some of the most authentic, genuine individuals I have come across in my career ever. You know, and I've worked with some really great people, and I'm not saying that for this moment, I'm saying it because it's real.
It's true, right?
And it's true. Everyone here is just so open and so free to be themselves. And I love the space that we're in to be able to do that and come to work. So for me, I'm so blessed to be able to show up to work every day just as myself. I've talked before about having to shrink before, and I don't have to do that here. I can be exactly who I want to be every single day. And that's crazy, because people are like, you're the CEO. Yeah, but people put limitations on CEOs, and you're not supposed to act like that, and you shouldn't say this, and you shouldn't do that. I get to be myself every single day in every single setting all the time, and I absolutely love it. So if I can affirm to you all that you belong here, you are great, you are doing a phenomenal job, you are badass. and really this Women's Month, like, and beyond, keep being who you are, and whatever I have to pour into you, I want to be able to do that, 365 days of the year, just not just this month, because I really do think that this is our time. This is a space where we're supposed to be, and I'm excited to be surrounded by women like you doing this. So that's how I feel.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, the light went off, so that was perfect.
I was gonna say John will come in.
I think that makes you you.